Access Lex Institute is a nonprofit organization committed to helping talented, purpose-driven students find their path, from aspiring lawyer to fulfilled professional. In partnership with our nearly 200 member law schools, improving access and positively influencing legal education have been at the heart of our organization's mission since 1983. We have a DC office where we do public policy, advocacy work, fund research, and analyze data related to legal education, and a field team that travels around the country delivering financial literacy information at law schools and undergraduate institutions. We're a nonprofit, and everything we do is free to you. My name is Rachel Patterson, and I'm the Director of Programs for Diversity at Access Lex. I work with students and law school administrators in an effort to increase diversity in legal education. Prior to joining Access Lex, I worked in law school admissions. I've read hundreds of applications, and I am eager to share my knowledge with you today in your quest to attend law school. At the end of this lesson, students will be able to understand the impact of medians and percentiles in the law school application process. So we have spoken about the importance of timing. Let's shift gears to look at the components of the application itself. Applications are reviewed holistically. Every single document you submit is reviewed by one or more people. It can be helpful to think of your application in thirds. 1/3 of the review often involves your highest LSAT or GRE score, 1/3 involves your undergraduate GPA, and 1/3 involves everything else, which includes your personal statement, optional essay, resume, letters of recommendation, addendum, etc. It is important that you look at yourselves objectively prior to and during the law school application process. One factor that is related to the law school application process relates to LSAT and undergraduate GPA medians. What is a median? A median is a score that is the midway point between the lowest and the highest accepted scores at law schools during a specific period of time. A median essentially means half below. Law schools have median LSAT scores and undergraduate GPAs. When you see the median at Law School X is, let's say, a 160, that means that half of the students who matriculated to that law school had an LSAT score below 160 and half were above a 160. LSAT and undergraduate GPA are two very important factors in the law school admission process. Each law school publishes its medians. The medians tell you a story, but so do the percentiles. A percentile is a value that represents a percentage position range of data. The 25th percentile tells you about the bottom quarter of the class, and the 75th percentile tells you about the top quarter of the class. As an example, let's say you are a student named Jessica, and your LSAT and GPA are below school-wise median. Ask yourself, how do my scores compare to the 25th percentile? You're trying to figure out how many students are enrolled at this law school with a similar undergraduate GPA and LSAT profile. There are numerous schools, many of which are highly ranked, that are admitting students below one or both medians. Remember, half of the students who matriculate to every law school fall below one or both medians. Just don't put all of your eggs into the stretch or safety school baskets. When in doubt, take a look at the 25th and 75th percentiles. In terms of undergraduate GPA, law schools are examining several things. First, the admissions committee wants to know, what is your overall undergraduate GPA? Transcripts for all undergraduate institutions you attended are collected. College-level courses in high school are also counted. In addition, the committee looks to see what sort of trajectory is on your transcript, meaning is there an upward or downward trajectory? The trajectory matters. Did your grades really improve after your freshman year, or maybe your grades really declined during your junior year? Lastly, the committee is evaluating the courses that you took. The courses don't need to be law-related, but you need to demonstrate to the committee that you weren't simply phoning it in. Let's now shift our focus to standardized tests. The LSAT is the standard admissions test that has been used for many years as a factor in the law school admission process. The LSAT is designed to measure skills that are considered essential for success in law school. The GRE test is one that is commonly used for students applying to graduate school. It is possible that more law schools will offer the GRE in the coming years. Most law schools require law school applicants to submit an LSAT score. Some law schools are now also accepting GRE scores. In 2017-18, approximately 17 law schools accepted the GRE. In the most recent application cycle, closer to 44 or 45 schools accepted the GRE. Visit LSAC's and ETS's websites to identify test dates. Why do these tests matter? Standardized tests matter in the law school application process because they have a significant impact on admission and merit scholarship funding. Determine whether you want to take one or both tests. Perhaps you have a master's degree and already have a GRE score that you can utilize. Maybe you are considering a dual degree and would prefer to take the GRE as opposed to two separate tests. Or perhaps you would prefer to play it somewhat safe and take the LSAT, since at the present moment, most law schools require the LSAT. To determine which one you should take, we encourage you to reach out to your pre-law advisor. Since most law schools are still accepting the LSAT, this portion of the presentation will focus primarily on preparation for the LSAT. So let's look at a hypothetical example. We have 3 students, Sandra, Brian, and Jessica, all of whom are interested in attending School Y. The medians at School Y are as follows: a 157 for the LSAT and a 3.4 for undergraduate GPA. Sandra has a 157 and a 3.6. Brian has a 156 and a 3.5. Jessica has a 150 and a 3.2. With this hypothetical example, let's assume that all 3 candidates have a very strong final third of their application. That includes the personal statement, optional essays, and letters of recommendation. Let's start with Sandra. Sandra is at or above both medians, and thus she has a really strong chance of being admitted. However, Sandra isn't automatically in. She still has a hurdle she needs to jump over because the committee will review the rest of her application materials. Assuming that the rest of her application materials are strong, for Sandra, School Y is a safety school. Now, let's take a look at Brian. Brian is above the GPA median, but below the LSAT median. Assuming the rest of Brian's application is strong, Brian has a decent chance of potentially being admitted. School Y is a target school for Brian. It isn't a safety school because we know that he is below one of the medians and above the other, but it is still a target school. Brian still has a hurdle to jump over, and it is slightly larger than Sandra's because he's below one of the medians. We would call Brian a splitter because he's at or above one median and below the other. Jessica is also interested in School Y. She is, however, below both medians. The final third of her application, though, is strong. Should Jessica still apply to School Y? Yes, but for Jessica, School Y is likely a reach school. Can she be admitted? Yes. Are her chances of admission lower than Sandra or Brian? Maybe, but she should still apply. Far too often, there are many students who are in Brian or Jessica's positions, and they are intimidated because they are below one or both medians, and they do not even apply to certain schools. Another trend is that students in Brian and Jessica's positions will move to the opposite end of the spectrum and only apply to reach schools because they believe that despite their low grades, they're still great candidates. And they aren't necessarily wrong. They are still great candidates. However, it is important to find the balance between the types of schools you apply to so that you apply to safety, target, and reach schools. Make sure that you do not operate at either extreme. Find the right balance. Also, remember that timing can greatly impact these results too. The hypotheticals described are all contingent upon when a student applies in the application cycle. So now that we've talked about safety, target, and reach schools, let's also talk about the cost of law school applications. Law school applications on average cost anywhere from $60 to $85, so the process is not cheap. Know that there are fee waivers that are available to you. LSAC provides need-based fee waivers to applicants for application fees, CAS reports, and to cover test registration costs as well. Also, some law schools will provide fee waivers. The process varies at each school. Do not be shy about asking schools if they provide fee waivers. Thank you for watching this presentation. We hope that you'll watch all of the videos in this series. And if you have any additional questions, please reach out to us at diversity@accesslex.org.